Come one, come all to Avondale, Arizona. Tonight at the Phoenix Raceway, we brace ourselves for an all-out slugfest. 5 drivers will enter the ring here tonight, yet only one can leave a champion. It's winner takes all in the season finale of Speed. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Green Flag TV. My name is Nolan Rempel. You're watching the finale of the Speed Cup Series live from the virtual Phoenix Raceway. It is going to be an absolutely insane night where you've got 5 drivers, the likes of Christopher Darling, Drew Eisenman, Stan Hausman, Carlton Charles, and Mark McFadden looking set to duke it out as they will get ready to rumble for a duel in the desert for what will cap off what has been an absolutely incredible opening inaugural season for the Speed Cup Series. It's, again, going to be one of those nights where it's going to be non-stop action from start to finish, so hold on to your hats and buckle those belts tight, as it's going to be a hard-fought war all the way from start to finish of 125 laps of racing action. 107 degrees Fahrenheit, the track temp entering the race tonight, compared to the 78 degrees in the air. It is a hot, hot racetrack, and that is only going to add to the tensions that these guys are going to be feeling when they take that green flag in just over 3 minutes' time. Of course, there's a lot of folks to thank here for the Speed Cup Series for keeping them afloat for their inaugural season and for making sure that the lights have been kept on. This broadcast has been brought to you by Beer Street Journal. It is one of the largest online collections of original content dedicated to covering beer culture, education, and the advancement of the beer industry. With thousands of articles, millions of unique visitors, and exposure in over 200 countries, Beer Street Journal is paving the way to enabling category growth, engaging the broader consumer base, promoting better tasting beers for years to come. Beer Street Journal, the best in beer. Find out more at beerstreetjournal.com. And by Maxgrafix. Maxgrafix has all of your graphic design needs, from NASCAR to sim racing, logos, banners, posters, t-shirt design, and other commercial uses. Find out more today at facebook.com/MaxGrafixDesign. And last, but certainly not least, by Twisted Steel Steak Appeal. That is a top-of-the-line barbecue rub. While it says steak on the label, it's perfect as well for pork, seafood, chicken, and everything in between. If you can barbecue it, it's worth a try. Find out more on barbecueproshop.com and search it up Twisted Steel Steak Appeal by Marty Plute. Few drivers still looking to put down qualifying laps. We'll ride on board with Carlton Charles, one of the playoff drivers chasing for the title. He was the 4th driver to make it in on points. That's not a wild card run. He'll take you for a qualifying run around the Phoenix Raceway. For the driver out of Windham, Maine, he will find himself 8 quick on the boards in that number 27 Toyota Camry, as it's going to be, no doubt, a long, long ride for Charles, as he'll be looking to try to put himself into contention for a title. TJ Albin will be the last car to try to put down a qualifying effort, and he has got just about 40 seconds to do so in his Tires Plus number 83 Chevy Camaro ZL1. 18 cars slated to make it to the grid, and so far only 13 have set times. I think TJ Allman might just be able to put in 1 lap, but it would be a mighty close lap, as we'll watch Allman fire down into turn 1. 20 seconds on the clock. It's going to be really close at the line if TJ Allman wants to put down a qualifying lap here this time around. Working the back straightaway. 10 seconds on the docket. Does Allman have what it takes to drive through and pick up a spot on the official timing charts? 4 seconds, 3, 2, just makes it across as we hit 0. He'll be good enough for 7th. So that is it then. All drivers are across the line. We will take a run at what your starting grid looks like when we go racing for 125 laps of racing action from the Speed Cup Series' season finale. It is the likes of Jason Gracias on the pole with Shea Weidmiller beside him on the front row by 43 thousandths. Christopher Darling and Marty Plute lock out in MGR row number 2. Drew Eisman, one of the other main title contenders, will be down in 5th with Josh McDougall in 6th. TJ Ullman is in 7th with Ben Mashburn in 8th. Carlton Charles has been bumped down in 9th. Stan Hausman rounds out the top 10. From there, moving on down throughout this field, you'll have Mark McFadden and Michael Mooney on row number 6. Row 7 holds Josh Emerson and Mike Morkrid. They were the last 2 cars to put down qualifying laps. Brandon McKinney and Doug Milner will be back on row number 8. And row 9 holds Tim Branson and Corey Danielson. So we are now just waiting on a few key drivers here to grid on up before we get this race tonight underway. Mike Morkrid, Brandon McKinney, Corey Danielson, the 3 that we are presently waiting on. Everybody else gridded up and ready to go to war. It is going to be a hard-fought race from start to finish. Strategy could very well play a huge key. And now this championship is decided, and there are no bonus points awarded for today's race. There's no advantage given to anybody either for prior race wins. This is winner takes all. The highest finishing competitor out of your championship 5 will be your champion at the end of the night. You'll be able to keep track of who are the main title contenders. They'll be highlighted in green on the timing tower left side of your screen once we get this racing action officially underway. 15 seconds on the clock. Now waiting just on Corey Danielson. He will not make it to the call. So drivers will get set to rumble to life as we get set to kick off championship action for the Phoenix Raceway in Avondale. Pace car pulls down and in as we get set to kick things off. Jason Gross and Shane Weidmiller, 2 drivers that do not have a say in this championship, will be on the front row. The furthest driver up that's in the title fight will be Christopher Darling, starting second to that number 11 car on the inside line. We're happy that you joined us here on a Thursday night. For one final time, let's get this party started as Jason Gracias works into the restart zone. We're underway in Avondale. Working out of turn number 4. Darling leads lap number 1, taking it early from Jason Gracias in his number 1 car. Darling fires it down in the turn 1 this time through, and we've got trouble in the back already. McFadden going around, and he's found the wall. McFadden broke on the left front, so already one of our title contenders knocked out of contention. As we're going to be down to 16 runners, he's going to find the inside wall, but no caution because of where he's located. So already we moved from 5 to 4. McFadden was the driver that got randomly drawn his way into this final 4, and he is going to be the first one to find trouble on just the second lap of this race. Take a look at what happened here as this was working through the dog leg. And Charles lost it on the top end, a fellow playoff contender, and that sent McFadden hard into the inside barrier. And then, of course, just couldn't keep that car underneath him and lost control through turn 2. Found the inside wall, and that is game over for the Canadian. The rest of the pack here running nose to tail at the moment. You've got the top 5 packed up by about a second. Darling continues to lead the way. Eisman 4th, Hausman in 9th. Carlton Charles running way back in the 15th position. As the rest of this field will start to gradually work its way up and around. We are now turning lap number 6. At the moment, it is all eyes up on the front of this field. Mark McFadden has re-entered the race, 3 laps down. So effectively out of the fight, and well, never mind. I thought he may have been out. I think he tried to get out of pit road, realized the damage wasn't fixed, and he has taken a second tow. That was from pit road as well. So McFadden now down and out, and I believe he has called it quits. That car has gone behind the wall and to the garage. Tough break for the driver of the 22 as Shane Weinmiller trying to run down Grossis for the number 2 spot. Everybody right now being very polite, taking it easy. Oh, trouble behind. TJ Ullman finding the inside wall, and that's working down off of turn 2. Take a look at this one here as Ullman's just going to break the back end out, and oh, man. Tanks the inside wall, and that will have broken the left front of his machine. So Ullman's starting to slip back. As he will now try to make his way to pit road, this time hopefully without spinning it out. So Ullman becomes the second driver to find problems in this race, albeit not a title contender this time around. Darlene Gracias, Weinmiller, and Eisman remain packed up 1, 2, 3, and 4. Marty Plute hanging on in the wings just behind. Drew Eisman is a driver that has long been trying to seal himself as a driver to be reckoned with over here in the Speed Cup Series, and he was for a while tied with Darling for the most race wins as Plute will slam the wall out of turn 2. Plute's going to find that wall big time as the top 4 drivers will continue to hightail the way from this field. Further down the pack, you've got Josh Emerson, Doug Milliner, and Tim Branson duking it out for positions 10th, 11th, and 12th as well. Of course, they are not in it, though, for a championship battle. They are very much just kind of riding around and looking to have a quiet finale here. At the moment, Darling is in control of this race as he has been from the get-go. Took the lead very, very early on the opening lap, and in fact, let's show you how Christopher Darling shot to the inside to take the race lead. This was working out of turn 4, and he took this one from 3rd up to 1st by the end of turn 2 here. Ducked into the dog leg and cut it about as much as he could get away with. Pulled alongside by the time they hit turn 1, and it was no contest out of 2. Top 3 here are still the closest grouping. Drew Eisman runs in 4th, just a little ways behind. TJ Ullman left pit road and now is back into pit road. So he, kind of like Mark McFadden, he attempted to make his way out onto the racetrack. Realized his car was in fact not nearly as fixed as he was, and that results in him falling back down to pit road. He now sits 4 laps, about to be 5 laps down. As Darling at the moment looking to click off the most laps led, guaranteed if nobody could get up there and challenge that Maxgrafix number 11 Camry. on board with the back of Darling here as he is trying to keep Jason Gracias at bay. And you can see that number 1 car. He's been there. He is very much matching the pace of Christopher Darling, but he is taking it very easy here at the moment in that number 1. And you have to wonder if maybe this is because he doesn't want to get involved in a championship battle that we got going on here at the moment. That is a very strong possibility. It's giving Darling a great buffer, though, between both him and Drew Eisman, who currently runs in that number 4 spot. Drew Eisman, of course, just trying to see if he can establish a run here in the Eisentech machine and work his way back up to the top 3. But he has been starting to slip back more and more over the last several laps. This pace drop-off is not something that is ideal for the Texan here, as he's going to be looking to definitely find some more pace under this number 77 car. Maybe we'll see that long run speed kick in. I know Eisman was a real weapon at the road course races, and particularly the short tracks like at the Richmond Raceway, where he virtually dominated that entire race until he got wiped up at an incident. So Eisman very much has the potential here, I think, to come home and steal this championship still. He's got to put that pace in, or he's never going to work his way up there to Darling. Looking further back down the field, this is Josh McDougall and Ben Mashburn. They were having a bit of an exchange. Meanwhile, Tim Branson getting up and around Doug Milliner for the 11th spot on the racetrack. And, oh, wow. Milliner, where is Milliner at? Oh, boy. Milliner having a huge off. Will take right on board with, whoa, hold on. Oh, that's a fairly hefty whack into the barriers there from Milliner. That is now, what, the 3rd car that has gotten loose in that same spot. First time it was Carlton Charles rebounding down into the side of Mark McFadden, sending him into the inside wall. TJ Allman, I'm going to apologize, lost it on the backstretch. And Milliner, that left front, not looking too hot now because of that. One driver not taking chances, Ben Mashburn to the inside of Josh McDougall, picks up the 6th position. And that McDonald's Camry starting to have some speed as he'll start to drive away. With these next-gen cars, it very much is a very fine line you're treading with that dog leg. It's so easy for these cars to get loose there, and the reason why, these diffusers on the back of the Gen 7 cars, they have a really bad tendency to bottom out as you're moving along, and we'll see if we can get a look on board with the nose here of Jason Gracias. And you'll see what I mean. See how close right there that the diffuser was getting to the bottom of the racetrack there through the dog leg with that little divot there? It lifts the back of the car a bit off the ground, causes the wheels to break traction, and that is why we see Christopher Darling, or some of these, well, not Darling, but some of these cars having so much trouble working through that dog leg. You're left with two options. You take a much wider arcing line with a lower tire angle, or you just choose to bob it straight down through the dog leg like we see Christopher Darling doing here, as he'll take it to the inside to fend off an attack from Jason Gracias. Gracias, they might be done waiting around. He's trying to get to the back bumper that time in 1 and 2. Looking like the Arca West race at the moment when they were here earlier this year, as Gracias to the inside. And he's going to take the Darling line right down to the bottom. Oh, into the outside wall goes Shane Weinmiller potentially, but Jason Gracias making an attack for the lead. This is good news for Dreisman. This could help him reel in if these guys remain side by side. Gracias can't complete the move though, and he will tuck back in line Although he is still going to try to throw it down the inside of that number 11 car. I want to get a look back if I can and see what happened with Weimiller there. We'll take a look as this all happened coming out of caution is out. We have a yellow flag on the racetrack, and Josh McDougall spun sideways on the front stretch. So first caution at lap 27. That'll bunch the field up. That's what Eisman was hoping for. And we'll be looking to come down to pit road this time by, as drivers will be taking fresh tires and fuel. It's a long pit road to work your way around when you're at a racetrack like this. Michael Mooney making the interesting call of staying out. So he will pick up the race lead. Emerson as well staying out. Branson staying out. McDougall, I find interesting, staying out as well, even though he's the one that spun to bring out this yellow flag. So it's a very split call, but it is looking like Mooney, Emerson, Branson, and McDougall will be the 4 cars that stay out. That's going to really shake this field up when we get around to the restart. As Darling goes up on the jacks, and I thought for a hot minute Shane Weimiller just had a drop as he flashed out of existence for a second, as Eisman trying to beat Darling out of pit road, can't get there. And how about this? Gracias with the lead out of the pits, and Eisman will make the jump into 3rd. That's bad news for Darling if that will line Eisman up with the inside. So this is going to be a heads-up grudge match between the two of them on the restart here. We'll look back on what brought out this first yellow flag of the afternoon, as Josh McDougall lost control out of turn 4. Has he had help from Plute? No, sir. Loops the back end by himself. Whoopsie daisy. Bit of a lazy slide down towards the dog leg, but no harm, no foul. Keeps it out of the wall, but we are now under our first caution flag of the night. Yellow flag is out for the first time. We're going to take a jump back. You're watching the Speed Cup Series and the season finale on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Phoenix Raceway. We are coming to the conclusion of our first yellow flag of the night. To recap, Michael Mooney and Josh Emerson have stayed out on the old tires. You had 2 cars, Josh McDougall and Tim Branson, opt to come down to pit road the second trip around. The pace car, meanwhile, is off. And this will leave it in the hands of Emerson and Mooney to take us down to the green flag this time by. Jason Gross is on the bottom. This puts Drew Eisman on the top. And Christopher Darling, having to make another trip down to pit road, finds himself way back in 13th. Green flag is back in the air, and we are racing once again from Avondale, Arizona, where now Drew Eisman leads the points. Oh boy, we've got a melee in the background here. Several cars, I think, getting caught up in some sort of a fuss towards the tail end of this field. We'll get back to all that in a moment, but Ben Mashburn having a disagreement with Michael Mooney over who's going to take over the number 2 spot here as we try to work our way down and in towards turn number 3 and 4. Josh Emerson way up the hill in 4. While Gracias pulling away from a lot of them in his bid for the race lead. Ashburn pulls ahead by 2 as he'll clear Emerson for the 3rd spot. Eisman now has a 3-car gap to himself and Stan Hausman. Now, what sent Darling back down to the pit road, I'm not sure, because we know that Chris Darling took tires when he came down. That second run down to pit road, it was for a 16-second stop. So it's curious to see why he came down and lost so much time. I believe he may have had an end of the long line penalty potentially, and that's why we saw him make a run down to top up on fuel. We'll take a look at the green flag and what happened to the tail end of this field as they were all sorts of discombobulated coming to the green flag here as, what was going on back here? I think Doug Millender not sure what was going on as, well, that's what stacked up the back portion of this field. There was no incident or anything. Millender, I guess, just wasn't sure where to go. Had to let through a bunch of cars, and he dropped the tail end. While everybody else works down the long backstretch. Whoa, trouble behind. As Emerson scrambling to the bottom of the back straightaway. Tim Branson trying to overtake him now as he's going to make that look for 10th, working into the dog leg. Doesn't look like he'll get there, though. Josh Emerson maintaining his line from the top shelf of the racetrack. Up the road, you've got Mooney and Wymiller, but perhaps even more critically, Stan Hausman finding it out with fellow playoff contender Christopher Darling. They're scrapping for 5th. They got to try to work their way up to 3rd, though. Darling to the inside of Stan Hausman picks up the 2nd place in the championship, 5th overall on the racetrack. But now there's a long way to go. 2.2 seconds to run down to get to Drew Eisenman. Oh, and now McDougall around again, and he'll find the inside wall in the dog leg. That's the 3rd car now that is spun off there, and I think that'll be it for the Guinness Camry as he'll be looking to take that car down into pit road. 3rd car of the night to find that almost exact spot down on the inside wall. While Tim Branson and Josh Emerson have a fight on the racetrack. Mike Borkman and Carlton Charles caught in the fray as well. Going to be 40 laps down this time by with 85 to go. As you look up to Ben Mashburn and Drew Eisman. Now, Eisman's got a choice. Does he push hard, try to overtake Mashburn and build up that buffer? Or does he just ride easy? Because right now, he's pulling away from Darling. Does he really want to risk getting involved in a battle if he doesn't have to here? Especially when Emerson is playing. Whoa, boy. Well, he might go for it now anyway as Mashburn way up the track in turn 1. And that lets an easy pass for Eisman through as, oh, boy. Well, that's about as close as you get right on board. Just loop the back in on entry. Tell you what, that is some fine driving, though, to keep that car out of the outside wall for Mashburn. As we'll check now on the fight for the top 5 between Darling and now Shane Wymiller, a driver with no stakes in this championship. So that 11 car going to continue to work with Plute and Miller here. But, I mean, you look up to Drew Eisenman. I mean, compare the lap times here to what Darling's been putting down, and it's a telling story. Drew Eisenman has definitely been the driver that has been building up the most time so far, putting down fairly consistent 2/10 a lap, just about. Lost a good bit on lap 40. That was when we had seen Mashburn getting loose, so he had to stack up to avoid that mess. But this time by on lap 44, again, lost a 10th for Darling. So this right now is Eisenman's race to lose. He doesn't have to win the race, remember. He just has to be in front of Darling and more. The number 11 car jumps to the inside of the Twisted Steel Chevy Camaro. Plute way up the track at turn 4, nearly into the outside wall. Lets both Darling and Miller. As Shane now picks up 5th, and now this has turned into a fight for 4th. Further behind, Michael Moon being overtaken by Tim Branson through the dogleg and into turn 1. So the HendrickCars.com 92 is continuing to make moves. Branson breaking into the top half of the field for one of the first times all afternoon. Eisenman has steadily been catching up to Jason Grosses over the last several laps. The lap times this time by at the stripe, I mean, we'll compare them this time around as it paints a telling story when the guy that's running second is lapping you by half a second a lap quicker. 29.1 for Grosses the last time by, only a 28.6 for Eisenman. He's going to go for that lead here before long because he's going to realize if he's running lap times like that, just catching up to the one car with the dirty air, what kind of times would he be putting down once he's in clean air? And this in action is costing him. He lost 3/10 to Darling the last time by. He put down a 28.3. So if I'm Eisenman, I'm trying to find a way around this one car as quickly as is physically possible. You cannot afford to hang around or be cautious when you're in a critical race like this where every spot matters, not even every point, because this is just whoever finishes highest taking the title. It's all about the setup. Phoenix Raceway, you're never going to be able to just point and shoot like you can at tracks like Martinsville. You have to really set this up lap after lap and then go for it when you think you can get it done. And that's example of pulling out too early there as Eisenman poked to the inside, but only sacrificed his entry into turn 3, and that allows for Grosses to now build a gap. Caution is out, and it is Mike Morcrid around on the back straightaway in the Bazooka Camaro. There go your leaders, so he'll lose a lap. So Mike Morcrid will be the cause of our second yellow flag, and now the rest of the field will be funneling behind. Take a look on what happened here out of turn 2. Oh, slip of the back end, and finds the outside wall in a big way and rebounds that down into the inside wall. On board. Ouch. Double ouch. Gracias, Mashburn, Darling on Miller into pit road. Drew Eisenman staying out this time around. Right, okay, now we're getting interesting here. Drew Eisenman will stay out on the racetrack, and we've got a lot of takers, but only 4 stay out. Eisenman, Plute, Hausman, and Branson will all remain on the racetrack. That's a bold call from Drew Eisenman. He might be thinking we'll get a late race caution, so he's keeping a set in the back pocket for later in the race that Darley may be using now, and he is. Gracias led them down. He'll lead them off. We are under caution flag number 2, excuse me, from the Phoenix Raceway, and the Speed Cup Series finale. We'll be back in a moment. Working the back straightaway for the final time. We will restart on lap 56 of 125 tonight as we work our way further and further into championship night here for the Speed Cup Series. Drew Eisenman will be the driver to take us around through 3 and 4. He, along with Plute, Hausman, and Branson, did not stop. Green flag is back in the air, and we're underway. Immediately, Ben Mashburn and Jason Gracias take it down to the inside of the racetrack as we funnel down into 1 and 2. Single file in and out relatively quickly as we'll work the back stretch. Eisman on a great jump up the road. Now we'll see how useful fresh tires are by about a 25 to 30 lap difference. So far, though, looking like they're not too much of a benefit for these drivers as Mashburn will take that to the bottom. And it's not the first time we've seen the tires hasn't been everything in a race. I mean, Eisenman got a lot of his road course wins by not taking tires at all because it didn't matter. I mean, key up the race that we had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course, he took that race win after not taking any tires in the pit stop, and to boot, he set the fastest lap on the last lap of the race. Oh, as Gracias bobbling a bit from the bottom that time by the Maxgrafix Camry as he'll work. Oh, trouble into the outside wall goes Ben Mashburn, sliding around. He'll spin it around and keeps it off the outside wall, but the caution will fly for the third time. Eisman continuing to lead. Check back in on Ben Mashburn here on this one, and just like the last time, throws it in too deep. That's a great job of keeping that car off the outside wall, though. And I mean, that is That was fully off the wall, and that takes effort to manage to save that car. I'll call that a save, as look at this. Whew, gets within an inch, never touched it. So loop the back end, and again, keep that car from going in. Right on board. Oh, it does not get any closer than that. I'll take that one. That is a phenomenal save there, as we will be under caution for the third time tonight. Doug Milliner takes up the lucky dog. Let's talk to some of the drivers here looking to kind of go for this title here. A couple of drivers fake down into pit road, and we'll see if the driver of this number 39 car here is available to give us some quick insights on how his championship night is going so far. Stan, this is Noel Ramble up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. Looks like you're not doing half bad yourself, running fourth as it stands. How are you feeling at the moment for your championship hopes?
Pretty good right now. I mean, it's really a tires game here, and when that first caution came out, it was a no-brainer to go in, but after about 20 laps, I didn't want to have one set left with 70 laps to go, so long race still to go. Got to keep it under me, but looking forward to trying to finish this thing as far as up we can.
Drew Eisman certainly looking like a weapon up in front. What are you going to have to do to get around that Eisentech machine?
Drew's been tough all season. He's always had speed on the majority of the courses he's gone to. So is Chris. So again, it's just going to be a matter of keeping the tires under. Don't make any mistakes, because sometimes these guys, when they're going fast, they clip the wall or do something along those lines, and they can throw away the race on themselves. So I just can't beat myself tonight and try to run my race.
All right, well, we will wish you the best of luck. Good luck out there throughout this second half of the race when we get back to racing action.
Thank you, sir.
Now Stan Hauser joining us up here from the number 4 spot at the moment in his Beer Street Journal number 39 car. Still running solid in the top 5 of this race. Drew Eisman, is he electing for the outside coming to the restart here? You know, he may very well be doing just that, and he is. Drew Eisman taking the outside lane on the restart. He hasn't been one that's felt the need to dive to the dogleg too much today. You might have something through the banking to keep the momentum rolling forward. The question is, can he fend off Jason Gracias, who was on 24 lap older tires on his inside? Pace car's off. We now wait on that 77 machine. Toyota on the inside, Ford on the outside, Chevrolet back in third. We're working to the Geico restart zone. Green flags up in the air, and we're back underway. Great launch with Drew Eisman around the top as Gracias did not get going from down on the bottom. And caution already. We got a big crash, and that's collected. Called to Charles, one of the other title contenders, getting collected in the dog leg. And he's found Ben Mashburn as well. And this one will push us past the halfway mark. Mashburn to the outside of Charles. Oh, he's turned right down across the nose of the 27, though, it looked like. Curious if he got loose or if he just drove down across him. Let's ride on board. He's not loose. That was all on Mashburn. Just turning right down across the nose of a title contender. That is the ultimate form of clumsy. Oh, this will be a great shot here. Watch this. I mean, mean, I don't know where Ben thought he was going with that one. It brings up that old controversy, well, I guess not a controversy, but an old discussion, right, about how that dog leg works. If you're on the outside, a lot of the times you expect people to be cutting the dog leg. So you'll dive down, arc it off of the apron. Here's the caveat with that, though. If you're cutting the dog leg, you are technically leaving the racing surface. It's defined by that yellow line on the inside. Now, there is no penalty for cutting the dog leg. No, sir. No penalty at all. But that does define the racing surface. So you are not obligated to go onto that dog leg. And just because you think somebody is going below the dog leg does not mean they are going to be cutting that dog leg. Because you don't have to. That means that is 100% on Ben Mashburn, full and throughout. Morkrid picks up a lucky dog free pass. We are under caution number 4. Halfway home this time by, and we'll be back with more action in a moment. .59 laps to go from the final race of the Speed Cup Series in playoff action. You've had 2 title contenders being caught up in incidents. Carlton Charles after Mark McFadden, both of them in the dogleg, albeit different circumstances. Charles got loose and rebounded into McFadden, whereas Charles had Ben Mashburn cut across the nose. By the way, Mashburn did mention he didn't see Carlton down there, so he has apologized. He has taken the blame. It's difficult to see out of the side of these cars. I mean, you take a ride on board here with Eisenman. But this is about all you can see. So if somebody is directly at your door, you're not going to know they're there until you're being turned across them, which is why we have spotters. They are an absolutely incredible thing that iRacing allows you to have. Drew Eisenman will work into turn numbers 3 and 4. And the green flag will drop. It's another early launch for that 77 car. As the rest of the pack starts to work down the main straightaway and in towards turn 1. Eisenman already pulling away. You're watching the battle for second between Jason Grasses and Martin Plute. Plute up to the top. Darling way to the bottom, trying to go 2 for 2. He'll get around the number 1. Can he get around, or he'll get around the 4. Can't get around the 1, though. So Gross is going to find himself now in Darling's way as they power out of turn 2, working the backstretch. Eisenman's already built up a gap of about 3/4 of a second. Darling doesn't have the time to wait. The inside of his teammate, Jason Gracias, but the 1 car not letting him go. So Christopher Darling will be stuck in line running third. Not the place where he needs to be right now. Ben Mashburn making moves into that dogleg once again, trying to get up and around Stan Hausman. This time does so. That was the pass for sixth. Jason Gross's last turn by put down the fastest lap of 27.94. Albeit still almost half a second behind race leader Eisman. Plute way up the track in four. Let Shane Weimiller in the mix as Weimiller punches his ticket through to fourth. Mentioned before, it's going to be a very long race tonight, and we are just past halfway. So it is as Stan said when we interviewed him a couple of cautions ago. There's a lot of racing left. It's a lot of time where something can go catastrophically wrong. Oh, like right there as Emerson runs into the back of Tim Branson, shoves himself up the track, and puts himself under fire from Doug Milliner. Emerson immediately cuts back to the bottom, sends it up the inside of the 92. And Milliner will follow suit as well, making it now a two-car battle for ninth. And there goes the Wonder Bread number 6. Trying to keep that 73 Camaro behind of Emerson, but, well, I say but. Looks like he's got it more or less sorted here. Jason Grosses and Drew Eisman have both been pulling away from Christopher Darling. Darling's been slipping back to the likes of Shane Weimiller. So you're looking to have two tandem battles, first and second, then third and fourth. Christopher Darling was able to get away pretty early in this race and lead a good chunk. This, I think, is all the effects that we're seeing of Dirty Air alone. As, Ben Mashburn slow on the racetrack. Does that car have power? He's in fourth gear. He's got a hardware failure of some sort. He's going to take the tow. I don't know what to make about that one. Let's, right, let's take a look. Oh, actually, we'll get back to that in a moment as Jason Gross just got right to the back bumper of Drew Eisman. We're going to have a fight picking up for the lead on our hands here. To the inside, Maxgrafix teammates. Gross is trying to go to the point. Gets alongside Eisman here. Sends it up the inside at turn one. Eisman's wide. Here comes Darling. This is for the championship now. Gross is the tip of the spear. Darling the battering ram. Busts down the door, and Darling will retake the championship lead. Still side by side with the 77 car, but looking like that'll go in the favor of Chris Darling now to the end of this race. Eisman slips back to fourth, being overtaken by Shane Weimiller. Now, here's what happened to Ben Mashburn. This is about a lap or so prior to when we actually saw him trying to work down onto pit road. So let's ride on board. I think this will be the biggest teller here. You know what? We may have been a bit early on that one. We'll jump a bit further up. Right, this should be the lap now. Up in a 5th. Losing the back end. Chasing it. Oh, hello. Whoopsie daisy. Huh. So it wasn't a hardware failure. I'm not sure what the deal with that one was. Josh Emerson, loses the back end as he was trying to lock it down, and he took a toe to pit road as well. I don't know what to make of that one for Ben Mashburn. I mean, he chased it up in 3 and 4, or 1 and 2, excuse me, but he definitely had the capability to drive that thing further. I guess he just wanted to call it quits as well. The 11 and the 14 will continue to chase after one another as the battles pick up further from the Phoenix Raceway. We are entering the final third of racing action tonight. Stan Hausman side by side with Doug Milliner. Further in the back as Milliner works his way through to 7th. Hausman up on the top in 8th. And looking like he'll relegate himself down to that number 8 spot as the Wonder Bread Mustang picks off another. We'll continue on, and we'll let you go in car to experience the sights and sound for a few laps at the Phoenix Raceway. 31 laps to go this time by. Christopher Darling continuing to lead the way in the championship standings. Shane Weinmiller back in third. Eisenman, the next closest contender, sits now a good 3.3 seconds in behind for the number 3 spot. Stan Hausman is in a pit road. We could be seeing green flag pit stops kicking off here momentarily. We want to once again thank all the guys that helped keep the lights on here for the Speed Cup Series. This broadcast brought to you by Beer Street Journal. Now, Beer Street Journal, it is the world's largest collection of one of the largest online collections of original content dedicated to covering beer culture, education, and the advancement of the beer industry. With thousands of articles, millions of unique visitors, and exposure in over 200 countries, Beer Street Journal is paving the way to enabling category growth, engaging a broader consumer base, and promoting better tasting beer for years to come. Beer Street Journal, the best in beer. Find out more from them at beerstreetjournal.com. And by Maxgrafix. Maxgrafix has all of your graphic design needs, from NASCAR to sim racing, logos, banners, posters, t-shirt design, and other commercial uses. Find out more today at facebook.com/Maxgrafix Design. And last but certainly not least, by Twisted Steel Steak Appeal. Twisted Steel Steak Appeal is a top-of-the-line barbecue rub. While it may say steak on the label, it is perfect as well for pork, seafood, chicken, and everything in between. If you can barbecue it, it is worth a try. Find out more on barbecueproshop.com and search up Twisted Steel Steak Appeal by Marty Plute. Stan Hausman has been caught just out of pit road, and as Darling trying to hang on against Shane Weinmiller. And right there, you're seeing the gap between fresh tires and old tires at the end of a run. Hausman should be good to go to the end of the race from here, as we'll have 27 laps to go at the line. Right now, this battle for second remains one of only 2 fights on the racetrack. The other one between Michael Mooney and Doug Milliner for the number 6 spot, about 14 seconds back for the race leaders. Working to the inside, they'll put Carlton Charles a lap down, effectively making this now a 2-horse race for the title between Drew Eisenman and Christopher Darling here. And Eisenman's sitting way back here in no man's land right now. 4th place is not going to cut it. He's got to be second or better. Wherever Darling is, he's got to be one better than that number 11 car. So I think at the moment we are seeing Drew Eisenman starting to regret that decision to not pit for tires. He last stopped on lap 28, so we're talking almost 80 laps ago now. It's a huge move for Eisenman to be so far down like this, and who knows, maybe he'll be able to reset back up the road, but at the moment I think to get into contention, you would need for there to be a caution. Now, assuming Darling and Weinmiller here might have to stop again for fuel, it might not be a bad idea for Drew Eisenman to go for an undercut strategy. You know, come in, get the fresh tires, get back out on the racetrack, run that gap down, and then try to build up a gap that you can then manage and go on defense for the remainder of the race. That is only assuming, though, that Darling, Weinmiller, and co. have to all stop once more as well. Which that's a bit of a question mark with the number of cautions that we've had so far this afternoon. Checking back on Michael Mooney and Doug Milliner, scrapping for 6th and 7th. Diving into into turns 1 and 2. Separated by 0.2 of a second, about the same gap that we see to Darling and Weinmiller, about half a lap up the road. "20 laps to go this time by. Speed Cup Series will be running an off-season winter series throughout the winter months. who I believe kicked things back off either in March or February as Weinmiller shoots to the inside of Darling. Bumps Christopher Darling down to third now. But they will be running a series of recruitment races throughout the winter months, so if you're interested in getting involved in the Speed Cup Series, absolutely check those out. I'm sure they love to expand their roster for their second season of competition as Milliner and Mooney now exchanging hands as Michael Mooney goes through to sixth. And as always, if you want to get your league broadcasted on Green Flag TV, you can check us out at www.greenflagtv.com. Our current biggest openings are on Tuesdays and Sundays. So if you got something that matches any of those 2 days, be sure to swing on our way. We'd be happy to expand our own roster through these cold months coming up as well. Or warm months if you happen to be in the southern hemisphere. Tim Brantz is in a pit road, couldn't make it. I think that all but confirms we're going to be seeing one more round of pit stops before the end of this race. At least for the drivers that pitted on lap 28, the guys that pitted on 52 may be good. But that confirms that Eisenman and Plute will both have to stop again as well, I do believe. Weinmiller's been pulling away from Darling, really showing just how much he's been held up by that 11 car, leaving this now effectively the only fight on the racetrack between Michael Mooney and Doug Milliner. What a season it's been for all these drivers, and I think the two guys that have been fighting for the title have been two of the drivers that have been the most deserving. Darling has been here every single race. He has a 100% attendance rate. 5 wins in that span of time, 13 top 5s, 20 top 10s. Drew Eisenman has made 23 starts over the course of the season, and out of those 23, he has only failed to finish inside of the top 10 6 of those times. He's got 6 wins and 13 top 5s, tying it up with Christopher Darling. They are, as it stands, the two most winningest drivers in the Speed Cup Series. I think it's impressive that both of those guys, in all the races they've ran, have been so consistent with finishing inside the top 10. They've been able to keep it out of effectively every bout of mess that has ever come about their way. And that is what has allowed them to be in this position that they are in right now, fighting for that championship. Mooney and Milliner catching lap traffic. Mike Morcrid in the way as Milliner trying to go 3 wide up the middle. That's going to work out as Doug Milliner will move into 6th. Not done yet. Michael Mooney back to the bottom of 3 and 4. And Doug Milliner going to give, I think, maybe just enough room for Michael Mooney to secure this one as we work out of turn 4. Or will he? Side-by-side drag race down to the turn 1. Milliner taking that arcing wider line, but he'll get a much better momentum drive out of turn 2. And how about that? Doug Milliner makes that pass around the outside for 6th. Now starting to break apart as well as we enter the closing stages of this race. Jason Gracias continuing to lead the way. There's Maxgrafix number 1, Toyota Camry. .7 seconds clear of his teammate Darling, but Darling has continued to pull away from Eisen. The gap now up to almost 7 seconds. Shane Weinmiller, though, starting to close in for the lead, so we might have a battle yet before this race comes to a conclusion. 10 to go this time by. And this time the battle would be for the win of the race, if not the title. Plute last pitted on lap 28, and almost 100 laps later, he is in a pit road, effectively confirming that Darling will be able to make it to the end. The big question now is Drew Eisman, and this might explain all the time that he's been losing for the last little while, as he's been trying to conserve fuel in that car to try to make it to the end and at least maintain a second place run. Not clutching and coasting, but he is keeping it in fourth instead of downshifting to third like a lot of other drivers have been doing through turns 1 and 2. Could be a factor into why there's been so much time loss. He's bogging down Getty on the throttle, but in doing so, he's not wasting as much fuel. Checking back in on this battle for the number 5 spot now between Milliter and Mooney. It was for 6, but then, of course, you saw Marty Plute come down to pit road, which is, well, as I say, that's Stan Housing to get in the middle of this and break the battle up. So this is now turned into the fight for the last spot inside the top 5, and Plute down to pit road again. So potential penalty, and Plute's calling it quits, so Plute is out. Oh, and Eisenman has spun. Drew Eisenman has looped it in turn 2, but no caution. Big news for the championship battle, and Eisenman is into pit road. That could be game over for Eisenman's hopes. And was trying to slow down and make it to the lane, and he got unsettled on the transition, spun around. But because of where their car was positioned, there wasn't a caution flag for it. So Eisman is down and in. Carl, then Charles will pick up the number 2 spot. And that is it then for Drew Eisman, who will come home to be down in at least 3rd now, maybe even 4th in this championship hunt. Looks like he will be 3rd. He'll make it out to pit road before Stan Housman can come around. Jason Gracias in the thick of lap traffic with 4 laps to go. It's been his race to lose so far, as your field of what is down to just 11 cars works through 3 and 4. Gracias picks up 3 to go. Shane Weinmiller has closed the battle for the lead down to 0.6 of a second. But after being held up by Michael Mooney, will not be able to even get remotely close to Gracias. Two laps to go, this time by as the number 1 will try to lap Doug Milner to leave only the podium finishers on the racetrack. White flag, 1 lap to go. It has been a long season. We came on board in the middle of it, way back at Pocono in July. Well, now in November, we'll close things out from Avondale, Arizona. The duel in the desert is won by Jason Gracia. Shane Weimiller ripping the top, trying to take the Chastain line. The Hail Mary will now work as Jason Gracia takes the win. And Christopher Darling is your Speed Cup Series inaugural champion after the run of the Phoenix Raceway. Darling spins it out as he will take a well-deserved title. We'll take a look on board with Weimiller in that final lap. Watch this here as he tried to go for the Chastain line. Very reminiscent of Martinsville 1 year ago. Tried it at Phoenix, licked the stamp and sent it into the outside wall in 3. But Graz had too much of a gap and maintained that ride for the win. Gracias will get to burn it down on the front straightaway. But it is all eyes on Darling, the driver that comes home to take a very deserving championship. 27 starts, 21 top 10s, 14 top 5s, and 5 wins sees Darling with a championship in Phoenix. We'll take a rundown of your official post-race results this time by, and it is going to be the likes of Jason Gracias to take home the race win at the end of the night. Shane Weimiller is down at second. Christopher Darling, the new champion, rounds out the podium finishers. Doug Milliner was down in fourth. Michael Mooney was in fifth. Carl Charles was sixth. Stan Housen finishes his championship in seventh with Drew Eisman having to be relegated down to eighth. What a shame for Eisman after he was running in the top 2 for most of the season at the points. Tim Branson was in 9th, like Borkert was in 10th. TJ Ullman was in 11th spot with Marty Plute was in 11th, TJ Ullman in 12th. Emerson was 13th, not finishing this race along with Ben Mashburn, Josh McDougall, Mark McFadden, Randy McKinney, and Corey Danielson. The bottom 2 not even making starts to race in action here tonight. Well, we will get the chance now to take a rundown of your and talk to your podium finishers at the end of the evening after what ended up being a very wild race. And you know what? We'll start this time. From the top of the podium, and we'll finish it out with your championship finisher at the end of the night. As Shane Weimiller picked up that number 2 spot. We'll talk to him in just a moment, but it is the number 1 car of Jason Gracias coming home to take the race win at the end of the season finale here at the Phoenix Raceway. And Jason, was a hard-fought win for you on that one. And walk us through the last lap. It's looking like smooth sailing, and all of a sudden, there's a 14 car taking the Chastain line on the outside line.
Yeah, real interesting race for sure. First and foremost, thanks to sponsors Maxgrafix for giving me such good-looking paint schemes all season long. Good championship to Chris. If you didn't know, Chris is Maxgrafix. Surprise, surprise. The race was real interesting. Really about saving the rear tires. You know, I had to do an alternate strategy that I've never done before for this race. But yeah, the last lap, I'm not gonna lie, Shane had me worried with that hill melon. It didn't work in practice, but it almost worked in the race.
We take a look, and you mentioned this was a big strategy race here in this one. A lot of drivers pitted on lap 52. Some opted to stay out. What contributed to your decision to make that stop just shy of halfway?
I've always gotten burned with, caution-filled early races where it was like quick caution, and then a long run. So I figured that's what kind of would happen here, and it kind of played out in my favor where we had a couple quick cautions back to back, but then we had a long run to end the race. So thankfully, by pitting there and taking extra fuel, really got me, in a good position to try to play defense and maintain the lead and try to save the rear tires and try to get this car in victory lane.
All in all, you've only been able to make 4 successful starts, it looks like, throughout the course of the season, possibly more, but a lot of provisionals on the list there. Can we expect to see that number 1 car out, though, in more force next season?
Potentially, to be determined. I just want to give a shout out to my wife. She's pregnant with her first child, who's going to be born here in a couple weeks. So that's going to take priority. But when I'm free, I will be back in the number one car in this race. So happy early birthday to my son Nico.
And congratulations from us here at Green Flag TV as well. Congratulations as well on the race win tonight, and we will wish you the best of luck when we go racing next season.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to everyone who makes this possible. Speed, Green Flag TV, Chris Darling, all the admins, all the sponsors. It's a really fun league to race in. Hopefully, we get a lot of familiar faces to come back and some new faces as well.
That was Jason Grasses joining us up here from Victory Lane. We'll move on down to the driver that put all the flair into the final lap as Shane Weinmiller channeling the Melon Man over here from Avondale, Arizona. Well, Shane, swing and a miss is what I have to say to that one. You definitely gave it an effort, though, walking through that final lap.
Yeah. I told him it wouldn't work, but they were like, "Oh, you gotta try it. You gotta try it. That's the only way you're gonna catch him." I was like, "Yeah, hell with it. Let's do it." I didn't think I'd get the close as I did, but hey, I don't know. I didn't even think it'd work, so I probably would have felt bad if I did beat him. That'd been pretty bad, wouldn't it?
It depends on your definition. I mean, I don't think there's a rule in it yet. I know a lot of leagues do have a rule about that by now, but hey, if it ain't in the rule book, be the one that makes them add it in, is what they always say. But anyways, you come home second place at the end of the night. You started in the number 2 spot. You were kind of bouncing all over the top 5 all race long. What was the strategy game to see that number 14 car positioned where it was runner-up at the end of the night?
Just try to save tires the best we could, but kind of played the track position game too. So it mostly worked until I got that speeding penalty, and then it kept us, it put us in the back. But we just kind of methodically picked them off and worked our way back up front, and then thankfully it went caution free there towards the end because I only had one set left and those other guys had 2. So it worked out in me and Darling's favor there.
Looking forward to the next season. Obviously, this has been a thrilling opening season for this league. Can we see that 14 car out making a full schedule when we go racing for season 2?
Definitely. I don't plan to miss nothing. So really looking forward to it. I've had a lot of fun these last 5 races on the schedule. I'm really thankful for these guys letting me come run with them, and hopefully I did some good, gave you guys something good to talk about there.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck then when we see that 14 car return to racing action in Season 2. For now, congratulations on the number 2 car. Maybe take the right side of that car out to the scrapyard.
Definitely. Thanks, man.
That was Shane Weinmiller joining us up here from the number 2 spot on the podium, and that will mean it is time to talk to the interview that everybody's been waiting on. It is your defending champion now, Christopher Darling, taking the win and all the glory in the Speed Cup Series for the inaugural season. Chris, obviously, it's a huge win tonight, and it was going to be right down between you and Eisman, and at some point, it was looking like it'd be any of your guys' championship to lose.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how that'd play out. Felt pretty confident going into the race, but I knew Drew would be fast. I think he just stayed out on old tires one too many times. But yeah, it was exciting. He still had some speed on the old tires, so I was a little worried. But once he started falling back, I sort of dialed down my lap times and just remembered I wasn't racing the guys up front. I was just there to race Drew and the other guys.
Walk us through the playoff season, because obviously when you get to a 4 elimination round playoff format like what we've been running here in this season, it can be a very stressful point of the year when you have to be on your toes every single race or risk being eliminated potentially early. At what point did you realize you were going to be pretty safe into that round of 4?
Well, I thought I'd be pretty safe, right when we started. I had all those extra bonus points, but I guess that wasn't really the case because we got down to, I think it was Homestead, and I was starting to get a little worried. I crashed out of a few races in a row, but once we got to Martinsville, and I was pretty fast. I mean, I felt pretty sure that I was going to make it, so I wasn't ever too worried. But yeah, definitely the crashes in the playoffs definitely didn't help my plans there.
Looking forward into season number 2, you are going to be the defending champion entering the second season. Given that, of course, you are one of the series administrators of this one, is it safe to assume that 11 car is going to be back and forth to defend its title when we go racing once again?
Yeah, we'll be back. I hope I'll be just as fast, but I don't know. We'll probably add a few more guys. I know a couple guys who, they don't race full time. They'll be back next season, so it's still gonna be tough. Drew's still gonna be out there. A couple Shane Weinmiller, he'll be in the mix, I'm sure. Maybe Jason Gracias will race a little more. I'm not sure about him. But yeah, we'll be racing next season, and we're all really excited to do it.
We will wish you the best of luck then when we go racing in 2024. For now, congratulations on the 3rd place tonight and the championship overall. We'll see you back in force to defend that title come the new year.
Thanks, Nolan.
That was Christopher Darden joining us up here in the broadcast booth, and that is about going to be a wrap then for us here on Green Flag TV. What an incredible season of racing action it has been. The reports are we are looking to be returning for that second season when they go racing towards the end of the winter in 2024. A few months from now, again, they'll be running some recruitment races throughout the offseason. So if you're interested in joining the Speed Cup Series, definitely hop into some of those and see if you will be the next driver to challenge Christopher Darling for that title fight when we get down in the round of racing one season from now. And, of course, if you want to get your lead broadcast on Green Flag TV, check us out at www.greenflagtv.com for pricing and to find out what we're all about. Thank you so much for joining us once again. It's been a pleasure having the Speed Cup Series along. We may have only done half a season this time. Next season, it'll be from the first lap in Daytona to the last lap at Phoenix. We'll see you all next time when we go racing for the Speed Cup Series.